was for a lady that was 100 years old, which was just this last Tuesday. And I want you to remember when you go back to school, tell your teachers that you were invited to a birthday party for a lady that was 100 years old. Okay, let's sing. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Grandma. Happy birthday to you. Very well. Maybe another eclair or something. Thank you, gifts.
Here. When I need a pick-me-up, I just call you up, listen to you laugh, answer your questions. You ask about the kids, but also us, moms and dads. Are we in love with each other? That's what you want to know. Asking about each child. What are they doing now? Are they living with joy? Your voice carries that. Love, Jim.
Very nice.
Okay. And I think I'm going to bring a couple of the girls over who couldn't make it today to be with you either on Monday, if we could have a cookie together. To see Phyllis. Okay, follow this lady here.
Got lots of kids. Good.
Hey.
And let's see, now you see, I should know these kids, and I have seen all of you before.
How you
but, you know,
Scotty.
you were probably that tall. So now you gotta tell me your names.
Well, how about if we step up just like this? Josh, you want to go first? And here's what you do. You make the film. It's running. Phyllis, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you, Chuck.
Jim.
So great of you.
Come on now, I'm Jim.
Oh, are you Jim?
I'm Jim. Chuck's in Yakima. Okay. So just go up there and give Phyllis a happy birthday.
Okay. And what's your name?
Deanna.
Deanna. And who's your mama?
Krista.
Krista. Okay. And who is this one?
I'm Katie.
You're Susan?
Katie.
Oh, Katie. And whose girl are you?
I'm Krista's daughter.
You're Chris's daughter too. Great. So glad to have you. And how are you? And who are you? Who do you belong to?
Leah.
Leah. Oh, great. And
Good,
how
Scott.
is Leah? Doing pretty good, isn't she? Great. And you have a brother. Well, you probably all know. Oh, right there. Now that's Josh, right? Josh? Okay. I've seen you before, and I remember seeing you two sit together for something that we had. Nice to see you again with all these girls. See, now, pretty soon it'll be girl time. How old are you? 12. 12. Oh, no, it won't be too long. Okay, now, you kids, Jerry's went down to the office, but we gotta find a place to sit here, so we can all sit down.
So this is Scotty. You guys.
Where's Scotty? Oh. Well, that's the way I am.
So these guys started over here, Phyllis, for your birthday, and then they had to turn around and go home.
Well, that's what I heard. But now Uncle Jim decided he'd bring you over so you could be over, and we can have a birthday again. And by the way, as long as I'm right here, just look at this lovely little lap robe. And my sister-in-law made that and gave that to me as a gift. Nobody was supposed to be bringing any gifts. But isn't that great? And this is the way I will use it, because that's the way I like to sit and listen to the, well, I can listen to TV, but, by reading books. Anyways, So, come on over here and sit down now. Oh, you got seats over there. Come on, Josh. Let's see.
Can I sit here?
Yeah, sure you can.
Pull that chair in, Kate.
And when Jerry gets back, we'll go have lunch. How's that sound?
Okay.
I bet you're hungry.
Yeah.
Well, but isn't this lovely?
Yeah, it's really
I lost the card, and so I laid last night trying to figure out who I knew that could make this, but I didn't think of May. She's my husband's brother's wife, so that's kind of deep down, huh? Anyway, she's my sister-in-law, and her husband, who was Charles, died a few years ago, along with, Foster, my husband, died after that, which was, well, Jim, you could grab a chair.
I'm doing just good, so.
Okay.
I like your clock.
And what?
I like your clock.
Well, I do too, but I think it needs some new batteries, so it only tries, you'll hear it, and it only does 3 times instead of 11. But I've had that, somebody gave, my daughter and her husband gave it to me, and so it chirps like a bird.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so you'll hear it. What time is it now?
It's 11:30.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm sorry Mom didn't come, but you just had a carload as it was, didn't you?
Yeah.
Right. By the way, how were the roads?
Oh, it was a gorgeous,
Way better than yesterday.
Beautiful day.
yeah, oh man, it's Mount Stewart and the Olympics are out and.
And it was a beautiful clear day, and I thought, I don't think God was fair over the weekend when he let that weather be like that. And he done that 10 years ago. The same thing. The only ones that got to there you didn't get there this year. But then that year, your
Grandpa?
Grandpa and Grandma drove clear to Vancouver, Washington, and back again to get to the party. And they were the only ones that got there. So, anyway. I'm glad to see Gretchen with the kids. Of course, we hadn't seen the baby. They are cute.
Oh, yeah.
Krista's kids here.
No, Krista and Liz. So Katie and Dee.
Now, which ones are the twins?
Well,
Krista and Leah.
Chris,
Who are?
Our parents are the twins.
Oh, your parents are the twins. Okay.
Oh, I thought one of them had another set of twins.
no, but sometimes these two cousins here, Deezus and Sammy, they play the role of the twins sometimes.
Okay. Well, they're almost the same size.
Yeah.
You're all a little bit too big, but it used to be when I went to Eastern Washington where your folks live, well, you kids were probably babies, I don't know, but anyway, I accumulated another name over there, and they all called me Old Aunt Phyllis. So I've been Old Aunt Phyllis to those kids for a long time. I guess I've graduated, but anyway, that's the way it used to be. I called Jim and I said, Aunt, or, this is Old Aunt Phyllis. That's the way it is. And of course now I am Old Aunt Phyllis. I got there. I don't know, you kids are old enough that you know what 100 means anyway. So 100 is a lot of years.
Yeah.
And I have no idea how come I've lived so long. Because everybody, even in my family, people, well, I had one aunt that lived to be 99, and one uncle lived to be 94. And my family of my mother was 11. And so and I'm the foot. I'm the last one. And then Shirley was there, You remember Shirley?
Yeah?
Okay, she's the last of the Rhinuses. So that was a big family. I think they had 7 kids. But she's the last one like I am, the last one of the Bodeens. And see, I was a Bodeen. Phyllis, Lorraine,
Well, couldn't we
Phyllis,
be a Bodeen?
Lorraine, Bodeen.
Couldn't you be a Bodeen? Well,
And
But your mom took your dad's name, so that's why you're miser.
yeah.
see, we didn't have any, well, they died enough so that I never had any Bodeens over here in Washington at all. They all died elsewhere. Who did die? No, well, I don't know when Dale died.
Hi, girls. Hi. Did you get your goodies? Hi.
Look at here, what we got.
You've got your hair cut really short. I've never seen it that short. It's cute.
I haven't had my hair cut since like January.
You haven't had it cut since January?
That's what he always says. He says
Well, you're getting to be an awful handsome guy.
he wants to have a haircut every other week.
Well, maybe you should have had a crew cut.
Well, I think so. Everybody's hungry.
These were goodies that were the kids got at the party. And there's cream puffs in the refrigerator. You have to eat them.
Oh.
So they're
Well,
yummy,
we'll
yummy.
have that when we come back for
Okay.
lunch.
And I'm your cousin.
Aunt
Because
Phyllis? I mean,
she's my mom,
Right.
and she's your grandpa's auntie, and I'm a cousin to your grandpa, so that means that you're my 3rd cousin.
See,
Your
we're all
mommy would be my
related.
2nd cousin, because he's my 1st cousin.
Jerry's
Each
my
gener-
older cousin.
See, yeah, I'm older than him.
I'm the young guy.
I'm 3 years
great
older.
aunt-in-law.
Anyway, but this is how it works. You have the 1st cousin, and then the next generation is the 2nd cousin, and the next generation is the 3rd.
Okay, and so how do these 2 guys fit in then?
So
I'm your second cousin.
you would
Your
be
second
a 2nd cousin. This is my youngest son, Scott,
I'm Uncle Jim's
and this is also a
cousin.
cousin, and he would be a 3rd cousin, and he belongs to my daughter. He's her youngest son, and they're shopping today. The mom and his sister are shopping.
See, if you'd have happened to been here for the party, I don't know how many people were there, but it was towards 200. And 75% of them were your cousins or something.
Yeah,
How did they fit? Wait, was it in this room?
What? No.
I know.
Does that mean I'm a cousin in Mexico?
Hold down like
Only if we
I don't think
stacked
so.
them, maybe. Yeah, we were at a senior.
We were at the Bothell Senior Center. The whole 300, but we weren't quite there. Okay, well, we want to go down
So
and
now
eat.
I have to know, so I need to, because I haven't seen you guys for
Yeah.
some time. I know that you 2 are brother and sister. So then I need to know how.
We're sisters.
Your sisters. Is this Krista's girls?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so tell me what your names are again.
Deanna.
Deanna and
Katie.
Katie. Okay. So you're Katie Lucille. Is that right? Okay.
Oh, there's a Katie Lucy. We
Yeah.
couldn't figure out where we
Well, I knew that one of them, but gosh, these kids have grown so much. I haven't seen you guys for what, 4 years? 5 years?
I think the last time when you brought Phyllis over,
Are you supposed to be?
and she had everyone's names memorized
Yeah.
and talked to each one.
So I think the last time I was over there, Gretchen wasn't married. She didn't even have a boyfriend at the time. So that gives you an idea how long
Yeah,
ago it was.
she's got 2 kids now.
And that one picture that we had, where it was the whole family that we'd taken a picture.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd moved yet, and you guys were little.
So that was
Ever
I
visit
think
the
Grandma
old
and I went over
house
there when you just got
and go
into your
sit on
youth
the
class.
house waiting for the ice cream man to come by on his bicycle? Yeah.
So okay, so what grade are you in school?
Me and him are in 6th.
So you and Annalise are the same age. Annalise was the long redhead, had the long red hair. You didn't
she
even there, you
wasn't
couldn't
here.
see. Anyway, but she's our youngest granddaughter of the first generation. And so you guys are all the same
She
age.
took 4 of them to the airport today.
I didn't take them, they had their own car. So then, how old are you, honey?
I'm 10.
You're 10.
I'm 10.
So you guys are the same age. You guys got almost past as sisters. And then you're
12.
12.
But we're not
Well,
in
he
the
doesn't
same
have to be
grade.
there
You
till,
look so much like your mom.
he doesn't have to be at his thing till 1
I
o'clock,
think,
so we got
and
time
you're
to.
the only boy, right?
Yeah.
And see, it's, and Megan's one of them that has all of
You
them.
lucky guy.
I think you'd have to squish your face.
Don't you think you're lucky? No? You don't like having all these girls? There'll come a time when that will change.
I really take what? What?
It'll all change, trust me. Too funny. Well, he doesn't like girls right now, but just give him a couple of years, it'll all change.
Well, there's an example.
No, I don't like those two.
What about their friends?
That'll change too,
We're
trust
close.
me. Just let me fix your hair.
I need some lipstick too.
I don't have a bucket.
You do know I
Here, give it to me. I have.
Mom's mom was a miller.
You're right.
And who was the youngest of 11 kids?
Grandma Alice.
Grandma Alice.
And Grandma Alice was my mom's mother. And your grandma, Lucille, loved Grandma Alice. She would come back when your granddad was just a little boy, baby, and she'd help his mom. They'd bake cookies and do all kinds of things together. So
She was a great grandma.
she was a wonderful grandma. And so anyway, and she had to go back to North Dakota to do that because they were still living back there. But anyway, the Millers have a lot of red in their hair and freckles, so you come by it naturally.
Well, there it is.
So if you ever wondered where it came from, that's probably what came springing through. He's a baby, and I'm back there, and I got to push him around in a stroller. And if you could see the kind of a stroller it was, nothing like what you see today. Nothing like it. Anyway, so I thought he was the cat's meow till he got older. And then I'm back there, and I'm 12 now, and I don't, so he would have been 3, yes, thank you. And we had a whole bunch of kids over, and Grandma Lucille had left a watermelon to serve the kids at some point. Do you remember this, Jim?
I don't remember this.
But your cousin Sharon was there. She stood up for me. We've got all these kids, so I cut open the watermelon. He gorged himself on the watermelon.
Not me.
And then he got sick.
Wait, what
And he
happened?
lost it everywhere.
Oh,
I was so mad at him, and we made him clean it up. And Sharon stood right there with me and said, "I'm going to back you up, Jerry, because this was him." He was a brat.
Well, I'll
He
tell
was
you,
really
he was
a brat.
I want to say that too. He went to sleep crabby. He woke up crabby, and Myra thought he was a gift from God. That's the
He
other
was,
grandma.
the bottom line was he's spoiled. He was a spoiled little boy.
Who are we talking about now?
You.
You. And anyway, so, but he was in your crib yet. Oh, you were so crabby every time you woke up. So when we left, when Frosty and I left, we were there, I suppose, a week or 10 days, I don't remember which. And so Frosty said, as we got down by the railroad tracks, he said, well, he said, you should have had a good time. We'd seen so many of the kids, you know. And I said, yeah, I did. But I said, there's one thing that I needed to do. And he said, what was that? I needed to turn Jim over and give him a spanking. He was such a brat.
Well, what was hard for me is I was the youngest in my family. So all of a sudden now I'm the oldest one. So the oldest one gets all the blame, right?
Yes. No.
Yeah, yes, that's to that.
No. No. True, yes.
They all look at him.
Well, I think this is going to be a fun day for you
Yeah.
kids.
Now I know where those two fell in your footsteps.
She started hitting me, and then I hit her back, and then
And then you get in trouble.
That's why you don't. I walk past you and you're like, and then I fall, and then you're like, hee hee ha ha hee ha.
I don't think we're gonna have.
All right, you guys,
Okay.
you have fun. Thanks,
Jerry,
Bring them over.
thank you. None of those stories are true. Hey, none of those stories about me are true.
Oh, of course they are.
Not for a spoiled brat. And I had those in my other house. And so I just dragged them along. And so that's something to remind me of my little old house. And let's see, you go and I'll hold the door because we'll leave it not locked. I lost the key. Everybody get out now.
Okay.
And we're gonna go to the right. Okay, who's next?
Want me to hold the door for you? I'll get it.
Well, okay then, we gotta get it down here and then not let it lock. Well, 'cause I always get a key from somebody, but
Oh, don't let it lock.
I got it.
we just barely, and it doesn't, it doesn't.
I'll get it, Grandpa.
Okay.
Downstairs where our swimming pool and
There's a
the
swimming
patio
pool?
are.
There's a swimming pool?
Louder.
And you'll say, almost it's a long way to that restaurant. As we get older, we need exercise. So I figure I get some exercise just going to the dining.
Doing great.
And you guys just take a place wherever you want to sit.
I'll sit next to Patch.
Of what was of that time?
Well, I remember how we always had coffee every morning.
Yeah, we did. I made on those tips, but I know I had
He had a gallon fruit jar, almost full
yeah.
of coins that he got for tips at that restaurant. And he was only a busboy. He wasn't even a waiter. And he still got that kind of tip, so that was way
Good.
back when.
Well, it was fun because you had your restaurant and we got to talk about food and service.
Right.
Uh,
Well, I had my first lobster at where you worked,
at the Windjammer restaurant.
Windjammer, and you know, they weren't very wise when they served me because lobster is something if you guys ordered it, none of you you'd see it and you'd think, what am I supposed to do with that? And it comes in a shell, and ordinarily the waitress will take the shell off, and then you have a nice piece of lobster meat. And so anyway, at this time I ordered this lobster, and it came lobster, and I'm so green, I don't know what it is really. And see, we were kind of poor people at that time too. But anyway, we had this lobster, and it was very good. But getting a whole cream lobster, you got the insides and all.
Dee, are you listening to this story and showing your restaurant manners?
Talking about lobsters.
Yeah, but restaurant manners here.
Oh, well, that's all right.
Okay.
And I tell you, they gotta do something because we wait a long time here. So I thought we could sit here as well as any place.
Okay.
But anyway, Jim was there, and we done a lot of talking. I don't know what we really talked about. What did we talk about?
Well, you told me a lot of family stories, and we also talked about saving money, and because you knew how to invest money,
Yeah, right.
and so there was that. But family stories, especially North Dakota story, and then the part that I needed, Aunt Phyllis was kind of like my mother during that time, and because I was in between lives, I was trying to grow up and leave. It was time for me to leave home, but I wasn't quite ready, and I was pretty immature. And
You were a little boy. Not really, but
there were some parts of me that was pretty immature.
Well, he was a college kid, but your first years of college, you're still in school.
Yeah. And so Phyllis kind of was my counselor and my guide, and really like served like my mother. I thought of her like my mother. And there's a little bit of jealousy between Lucille and Phyllis.
I think there was.
Yeah, there was. And Phyllis and Mom were also good friends, but it was hard for Mom to let go a little.
Well, he was her firstborn. See, the firstborn child is always sort of special. I don't know why, but that's just kind of a natural
Katie was the
phenomenon.
firstborn child?
The first child is usually, well, not necessarily but they're always kind of first in everything.
Yes, that's true.
His first when he was little was he knew how to cry. Oh God, that was the orneriest kid I ever seen. And Lucille and his grandmother thought he was God's gift to the world. And I used to, so that's what I said when we left. And Frosty asked me, I wanted to see all the kids and all that stuff. And I said, yeah, but I got one thing I would like to do. And he said, well, what was that? He said, I'd like to turn Jim over and spank him. He was such a brat. But anyway, well, when I say he was such a brat, he woke up crying and he went to sleep crying. So he was not a crybaby, but he got all that in. And doubly spoiled. Doubly spoiled. Anyway, but I can tell some fun things about him too. When he left us, he stopped in North Dakota, and the folks are still living there. Then Myra was still living there, and he went through there, and bless his heart, he took Myra to Alabama. I often wonder what kind of a trip was that.
That was a good trip.
Was it?
Yeah, there was a writer from Minnesota, Sinclair Lewis. He had a family home in Minnesota, so we stopped there and went to that museum. And there was a time when Grandma drove that little red car.
Did you? I imagine she got a kick out of
Yeah.
that.
We were all over the road there for a while.
Well, that was a little bit to steer.
Yeah. And then, Uncle Tim drove back to North Dakota with Lucille.
I saw Tim not too, well, now I can't say not too long ago, but within the last 2 or 3 years.
He stopped to see you?
I can't remember what it was, but he was there.
Okay.
And he was married.
Yeah, and that marriage didn't last.
Oh, well, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Maybe he told me that, I don't know.
Yeah, I bet he did. Yeah, that would have been.
But I always thought he was a good-looking kid.
He's a good-looking man, too. That's good, Kate. Aunt Phyllis was my dad's sister. I lived with her for almost 2 years after I graduated from high school in 1963. Dad was transferred to Huntsville, Alabama to work on the Saturn project. Mom, Dad, Chuck, and Vonnie went to Alabama in fall 1963. They were in Alabama until early 1969. Phyllis and Dad lived in Codo, North Dakota, about 6 miles from Beau Bells. There's no town left, but there's a county cemetery where Dale's twin brother Darrell is buried. Phyllis held it all together in my book, my way of looking at things. Phyllis and Mom fished together in Alaska. Phyllis and Mom attended Seattle Mariners spring training games twice. Phyllis said they were like sisters. Both of them mothered me in different ways. Speaking of how one sees things, Phyllis has lost her vision in both eyes. You can't tell this from the video. She listened to books on tape and loves them. Why bring this up? I asked this myself. She's still learning how to see this way. Understanding this helps one understand how sharp her vision enters the room and shapes the conversation. God knows more about this than we do. Children listening for what comes now in new time. Time folding itself back and forth. Phyllis mixing it all, who's here, who's not. Differences shredding definitions, banging synapses. How does Phyllis obliterate the world we've brought with us into the room? What is a generation? Other questions have to do with me. Maybe you're listening down the road. Perhaps you've already lost track of the kids. If you haven't, what do you remember of their lives? What paths did they find? Which ways opened for which ones? Returning to Phyllis, the more I see of her here, the more I want to listen to threads she hasn't had time to reach and give us. Maybe, too, she's the only editor that counts. She's left in what she wants to keep. And us, in the room, we've only had 100 years to listen. What distinguishes this from nostalgia? This conversation. Who do you talk with who carries conversation better? My own joy can't hide. Deflect, delete. What gets lost if you take this out? Jerry gave a remarkable speech at the birthday party, oral history by a daughter who has paid attention. And that too has been videotaped. She says things I didn't know. I visited half a dozen times and still don't have it. Could this be? Could this really be? Jerry's presentation details major points of Phyllis's life, and I'm so glad we got there in time to hear it. Most of our family had to turn back the day of the birthday party because of snow in the mountains. The cars had to turn back. Karen and I turned around in Ellensburg, came back and went over White Pass, arriving after the meal just before Jerry spoke and the kids came up to sing. Roads improved, and on Monday, Josh, Kate, Sam, and Dee got over the pass. That was time, too. Part of what the kids experience is part of who you are. What does who's here mean? Any way. Jim Bodeen, 10/14 April 2018.